Packard Enterprises and Intel present Byte Talks, powered by CNBC TV 18.
Cloud adoption has risen rapidly over the past 10 years, with 92% of the enterprise business strategies now relying on cloud, according to an IDG survey. The manufacturing industry in particular is almost as high as 87%. Understanding the importance of an agile data-centric strategy in the context of multi-cloud environment is extremely important. And to discuss the power of data-driven transformation across organizations with the ultimate objective to reduce the time for provisioning data infrastructure and eliminating silos, please welcome Rajesh Dhar, Senior Director, Infrastructure Hardware Growth, HPE, Bhaskar Dhandapani, Director, ODM, IoT, Sales India at Intel, Narendra Saini, CDO, Lupin, Gopinath Jayaraj, CIO, Tata Motors, Rajesh Uppa, CIO, MEB, Human Resources, Information Technology, Digital Enterprises and Education at Maruti. I am Reema Tendulkar from CNBC TV 18 and welcome to HPE and Intel present Byte Talks, powered by CNBC TV 18. Bhaskar, my first question to set the context of today's discussion is, what are the challenges that the manufacturing industry faces today, which companies are trying to solve using technology?
The manufacturing industry is adopting and gearing up to Industry 4.0, be it a process industry or a product industry. In the past, the technology-based solution is an option, but now technology has been looked at as a critical component to solve some of the acute problems, right? But across the industry, if you look at some of the challenging areas, if you can broadly look at 4 areas. Employee safety is one, and second thing is obviously how do we increase the throughput of the manufacturing, and also how do you keep your downtime of the equipment to the minimum, and the last one is inventory and logistics support of, right? The post-pandemic, we have seen a tremendous growth of technology adoption across the industry. To start with, when you say employee safety, how do we increase the safety when we want them to come to the factory to increase the production? How do we keep them safe at the minimal change of the existing hardware? The challenges thrown in front of us is that how do we measure social distancing or the employee wearing the safety equipment including mask? And we had the challenge of giving the solution using the current CCTV cameras in one of the two-wheeler manufacturing factory, right? And how do we bring in the hardware and software ecosystem and help resolving quickly on the current situation is one key. We did it. And moving to the throughput, how do we help the OEMs or the production equipment manufacturers to increase their efficiency, right? By using technology, by big data, AI, or video analytics. Video use case become by default as a mostly accepted solution across the industry. It's one of the two-wheeler manufacturing company wanted to increase their efficiency in their paint shop, wanting to understand whether it is painting is done completely or was there any error, how quickly we can identify. But AI ML-based video analytics solution helped them to develop the model, and then it helped them to increase efficiency on their on the painting shop. Okay. Predictive maintenance is one of the biggest areas which coming, right? How do we keep the equipment running in the factory, or how do you predict when they are going to fail, and then we can go on the preventive maintenance, right? That's another focus area for manufacturing segment. By analyzing continuous data and looking at the patterns, by putting the IoT sensors and using cloud analytics, by remotely we can predict by when what part can go down. So you can send your engineer in advance to keep the machine running, which is actually saving more than 20% of the total cost of the particular factory. Okay. And coming to the logistics, over inventory, under inventory, lack of tracking, all of them cost loss for the manufacturing equipment. So by putting the right sensors and they're giving feedback to the main console, what is the inventory we have, whether it has to be ordered automatically by processing in the cloud, or we have over inventory, how do we run out the offers so that it can be moved up quickly. Of course, the current situation, the demand is more compared to supply, but in a normal scenario, how do you automate them, right? So that's another challenge, but with the help of AI and IoT equipments, edge sensors and processors, we are able to automate and then increase the efficiency of it.
Mr. Gopinath, the benefits of using digital transformation technology is very well known. But historically, the manufacturing industry has been slow to adopt technology. Now, a company like yours, Tata Motors, you all have diverse, complex operations which is spread across the world, and each one comes with its own technology stack. So can you tell us the reasons why it's historically been difficult for manufacturing industry to adopt technology? What are the challenges that you face?
The challenges that you alluded to in the question is very real. The thing is that manufacturing organizations typically, especially traditional ones like ours who've been in business for a while, have installations from a manufacturing, logistics and supply chain perspective which have been in place for an extended period of time. So one of the first things that happens there is that you have various vintage of the equipment. So you have equipment which is fairly new if you have a recent plant or recent line, and you have equipment which is significantly aged depending on when it was particularly installed. This comes back, of course, with its own challenges in terms of the heterogeneity of the method of connectivity, the kind of data that the equipment is collecting today, and what kind of data is made available to the networks. So that's the first kind of challenge that is there. Second thing is that how do I then connect this data and bring it together using the technology that's available today, but not necessarily deployed uniformly. So the uniform deployment of connectivity technology is the other thing that needs to be examined and needs to be addressed. The third thing is that once you have this data connected, you need to have to correlate it, you need to have to bring the context. So context and correlation of the data, and specifically the crucial piece of connecting operation network or operational technology network, OT network, which is typically the plant lines and the plant floor equipment, and the IT network, which is typically your data center servers and the end user equipment, which is or end user compute devices, which are usually used for traditional IT networks. This connectivity is another important piece, and that brings a host of I would say dimensions to the question in terms of what is the kind of data that needs to be shared, the security aspects of it, and all the other things like user authentication and authorization, things like that. So that is another big piece that needs to be addressed. Then you have the connectivity to the cloud and the leverage of cloud technologies, compute, storage, analytics, etc. So all of this pieces together needs to be woven together with a particular purpose in mind, and to address many of the challenges that was mentioned by one of our earlier speakers. The approach that we've taken at Tata Motors, like many of our peers in the industry, that we have gone with a context-based view on what is it that we are trying to achieve, take the objective, and then work backwards in terms of getting all these different pieces that I just described connected together in a context to achieve that particular objective. So, for example, if we are looking at connecting the genealogy of a vehicle all the way to the sale and the service of the vehicle, and bringing it back also into the connected enterprise, where connected vehicle ecosystem, where we are getting data from the vehicle on the road. This connectivity in terms of tracing the vehicle's components is one particular use case that then drives a lot of actions internal to the organization, cutting across the different phases: plant equipment connectivity, data integration, data context, network connectivity, application context, and finally the deployment.
Rajesh, Mr. Uppal, would you like to add? Gopinath was just talking about how data is heterogeneous, it's not standardized, where it exists in silos. You all will be facing a similar challenge. What is your approach to digital transformation?
First and foremost, in this area, for any organization has to have a right architecture in place to manage the whole data. So in this kind of environment, there's some decision you need to take at the edge where the data is getting generated, and then a lot of data has to go to the cloud, and then on the trending basis you have to take some decision based on that. So do you have a right architecture in place to deal? Okay, what decision you will take at the edge level, what decision you will take into the at the analytics level, and then how to really consume all these things together to create a business value which everybody just talked about on that and all. So that's the point number one. Point number two on top of it is that whole architecture defined, is secure enough to manage. So if you have taken all the data security, whether data in rest or data in motion, and then everything around that, so that what you run is sustainable, it's not really in one go to manage and all. And third important element is do you have created the right kind of ecosystem to monitor it? Because at the end of the day, all these pieces has to work together to deliver value to the use case which you are doing. So these all are being monitored at the right time and right place to really ensure that all pieces work together to deliver what the outcome you are looking at it, and also so right architecture to manage this, which is the whole governance structure of operations we need to manage to handle that. But end of the day, very clearly business value which is required to be done. Are you getting it? Not so we have a right process of keep on trying new things around, maybe your agile method of development, so that you get value out of that. So I think it's the whole framework which need to be very important, which we have created to ensure that we get value out of the investment we are doing into this area.
Rajesh, Dhar, which brings me then to my next question, which is what Mr. Uppal referred to, the data architecture. Companies are recording millions of events every single day, but that data is of no use unless you derive intelligence from it. As he pointed out, it's very important that not only is your data secure, but you also monitor it. So what is the correct approach to data management tools?
The key challenges that we see in manufacturing organizations around data disarray. Data remains spread in silos across a sprawl of multi-generational IT. Trapped value, data is trapped in critical legacy systems. You have edge volumes, Rajesh spoke about data getting generated at the edge, but not possibly getting captured. You have migration headaches now, ability to move data securely in a multi-cloud environment, ability to get timely insights from this data, otherwise what's the point? And lastly, the overall TCO of managing this data. We understand this whole emerging data growth and the need to utilize insights XYZ. So we've been working with a lot of our manufacturing customers here in India, and we have what we call intelligent data platform that powers this whole data-driven transformation. It consists few technologies that work together. For data storage, we have HPE Elytra, which is it powers your data from edge to cloud. We have for data analytics and AI/ML capabilities, we have HPE Ezmeral Data Fabric. This is a pre-integrated persistent storage for containers, and it helps customers for AI and ML analytics applications. Then for data protection, we have and HA and DR lifecycle management. We have Zerto, HPE Store Ones, and we have HA and DR solutions. And lastly, a world-class HPE GreenLake services, which is a IT consumption service, cloud that comes to you rather than going to a cloud. And this is in your premises, within your security perimeter, and with a predictable TCO. So, we have solutions to manage this problem for customers, for managing this data for seamless insights for the business.
Hewlett Packard Enterprises and Intel present Byte Talks, powered by CNBC TV18. Hewlett Packard Enterprises and Intel present Byte Talks, powered by CNBC TV18.
Saini, we've been talking about data. How about talking a little bit more about understanding and how AI and ML is integrated, on cloud to use this data? Say for predictive maintenance, a topic that Bhaskar started the conversation with, about helping in quality control, about bringing in operational and supply chain resiliency and logistics. Can you talk about the benefit technology has used in Lupin?
The industry have seen a lot of process automation. That's one of the things that we are definitely looking at. We're also running a lot of optimizations, right? And on the back of it, we are running complex optimization engines, which basically are helping us building the manufacturing twins. And now manufacturing twins could be of different types. So I'm just giving you one example, right? So twins can be of different type. And what we are here doing is we're looking at optimization of different activities across the manufacturing line. And that's not just one process. It's basically multiple processes coming together to be able to give the final output. And that's where a lot of scope of optimization in the scheduling, in the planning, and other things can be looked at. So some of these aspects I can clearly call out when it comes to the manufacturing and the shop floor. But if you really look at manufacturing as an overall organization, I think the benefits are multitude. Just to look at even the capex blocked in the inventory in different stages, right from R&D to the manufacturing, in the different stages of manufacturing, then going to the finished good, and from finished good to the customers or stockists for that matter, and then going further down to the end customer. So there are multiple things that we see, and it's true for all the industries, be it discrete or process. We all face similar challenges when it comes to the value chain challenges for the manufacturing industry. So yeah, I believe we started realizing some of these things. We have built our own digital transformation roadmap, which is where we are working right now, and I think this 3 to 5 years journey where value realization or business case is extremely important. Digital transformation is no more something that we can talk about as an option or maybe experimentation. It's now linked to the business outcomes and benefits.
Gopi, you spoke about the bottlenecks. Can you talk about how Tata Motors is using AI and ML and how it has enhanced your business?
In our own case, we have been using this in multiple areas. We've used techniques for refining the entire sales data and how we are able to use that to better focus on the type of customers and the specific customers that we would like to reach. We use this in our manufacturing area to improve our product quality, use it in various other areas to improve our process quality. And of course, we're also using these techniques in order to be able to get a little bit more predictive in some of the different business scenarios that we are getting faced with, and specifically looking at how we can predict actions on the supply chain side, actions on the manufacturing side, on the planning side, to be able to better react to this very uncertain world that we are living in today.
Just to extend what Gopi just said, right? See, one of the very important things before we talk about AML is to build the digital foundation. Okay? And that foundation is extremely important aspect. Whenever we build a roadmap or digital transformation roadmap, the first part is foundation. That's how we are going to take care of data repositories, how we are going to build them, how we are going to do the contextualization of those things, scale, security, future proofing, everything that we need to probably do first before we start looking at applying all these concepts of AI and ML. I think that's one of the key aspects. Even Rajesh, he talked about setting up the architecture right, and that's something which is very, very important. And a lot of experimentations have gone. A lot of organizations are doing their bits on that one. There's no perfect model, but yeah, I think that's very important part which sets whether the transformation activity is going to, which direction it is going to. It's going to be 2-year or 3-year journey, or it's going to be 5 or 10 years journey, depending on how you learn and how you grow.
Mr. Uppal, what have been your key learnings as you implemented the data architecture at Maruti?
Important is the whole capability first, because these are new technologies. You need to have right people and skills to do it. That's point number one. Number two, you also need right partners who can help you to do that, and also your capability of partner ecosystem to really help you create that and all and sustain that as we go along. I think it has been a too big area of work to handle that. And third important element is, since this is being a new area to look at, has all the business user to sponsor that. So I think that's another big area now. So for that, we really ran a very strong digital literacy program across the organization to ensure that people understand this as a technology, sponsor this project and all, and are ready to consume this value which is being offered by this technology in place and all. I think that's a big learning, that how do you really create that capability in the organization to consume this within the organization.
Mr. Dhar, can you tell us what is the correct approach to ensuring the data remains secure as well as compliant with all the regulations?
Enterprises must be proactive, building security in every layer of the stack, right from silicon, which is the basic hardware which anyone would have in the data centers, to the data and to apps, and then across edge data centers and onto public clouds. So we use a very structured, holistic and systematic approach to building security architectures and solutions for our customers. It's based on our 7 security domain, which is a reference architecture we have, which is edge enabled, data driven and cloud enabled. For data security, we have solutions which covering AI, ML enabled security, because humanly it's not possible now. We're talking about data governance programs. We're talking about data platforms which are for access control, authentication, authorization, encryption of data, which is not only at rest but also in motion. We're talking about business continuity and recovery. And lastly, we're talking about helping customers to comply with regulations. People talking about ethics now around data management, and then the last one, which is around data privacy issues. We have data protection as a service with Zerto. It's an excellent HPE IP where we protect, recover, and move data across applications for continuous availability across on-prem, hybrid, and multi-cloud environments. So this whole thing, whether it is RPO, RTO, and some of these are technical terms, with active, passive, active, one-on-one, one-to-many replications, all of this is available today as part of our solution and services offering. And we're working with a lot of customers here in India and across the globe, and seeing to it that customers feel secure as they get their customers onboarded, their partners onboarded, their employees onboarded onto their networks.
Bhaskar, there's a lot of focus on Make in India and ensuring that the Indian manufacturing sector is world-class to cater to the global market requirements as well. Can you share Intel's experience in nurturing this market, and what is the expectation of the world from the Indian manufacturing ecosystem?
So the expectation from the world is whether India will be the next growth horizon for them. The answer is yes. Post-pandemic, the domestic consumption has skyrocketed. I believe we already crossed 200 billion worth of electronics import. And the next 4 to 5 years, it is predicted that the electronics import will be 400 billion plus. The fact that India being the youngest demographic, that's also helped for the local consumption. So India market for the MNCs who are manufacturing the brands act as a local market, which is the next growth horizon for them. Is a expectation which we can fulfill. And if you look at the importance of Make in India, the influence what it has on the foreign companies investing in India, we cannot ignore it. The Make in India momentum started sometime in 2014. And when you look at last year, the foreign direct investments came into India, it's about 74 billion plus. That talks about the confidence the foreign companies, MNCs, have in India. Multiple companies, foreign companies, have expressed their interest to relocate their manufacturing ecosystem to India under the geopolitical situation. So combining, India can act as a domestic market, plus India also is looked at as an alternate manufacturing site. It's a great opportunity for the manufacturing fraternity, right? And government has done everything right. They invested close to $40 billion under Make in India as an incentive. Is India as the next growth horizon for you? Yes. And India world-class system, if you look at, we are the global design house for most of the complex solutions. Yeah, it's just a matter of time that we are moving those independent design houses and software vendors into a successful ODMs with the help of Make in India.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in. It's been an absolute pleasure interacting with you all. Very insightful discussion. Thank you.
Hewlett Packard Enterprises and Intel present Byte Talks, powered by CNBC TV18. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.